The hope is that Jack Smith and this, we saw it with Mueller, we've seen it with impeachments, that the Democrats learn their lesson, at least. If you want to defeat Donald Trump's policies, try to convince some Republicans in the House to vote with you or Republicans in the Senate to vote with you. Don't try to make this about legally trying to remove a president or criminalize a president who has now been reelected by the American people. But I do want to go right to Harry Hutchinson, from the director of our policy department and legal department as well, legal policy. Because, Harry, what we're seeing is basically the news kind of saying, well, there's nothing really much to see here anymore. But there are a couple things to see. One is these cases are not yet closed out. So we have to keep an eye on them to make sure, again, there's some still unfriendly judges who are overseeing these cases. We're still in this period of where a transition is official. And so I think it makes it impossible for them to really move forward if they're following their own rules. It is not done yet. And we at the ACLJ, because we are attorneys, don't like to act like as if, well, it's basically done, so don't worry about it. We want to make sure we know 100% when Jack Smith is done. And then the second question, which is this report, depending on when he tries to release it and when it is written, I wonder if there's anything that can be done to prevent it from being released. Because if he tries to do it under the while Democrats still control the Office of Attorney General, I think he'll probably get it out. But if it's getting close, those people may be less interested in just releasing things like that. They're going to get pressure. I wonder what you think about that.
Well, I think your analysis and your questions are spot on. And let me take the second question first. I think that Jack Smith will be under intense pressure from many Democrats in Congress to issue a report before the end of Joe Biden's term. And so if we think about individuals like Adam Schiff from California, incoming senator, he will certainly push for the release of these documents. He wants to do everything possible to damage Donald Trump as he takes office. But I think it's also clear to the American people that after last Tuesday's stunning election, that we are now beginning to witness the beginning of a temporary but not necessarily permanent end of official deep state resistance to Trump. And certainly we can see this at the federal level in the form of Jack Smith's filing with the court to basically hold his appeal in abeyance. And so I think the first step in that process was Judge Eileen Cannon's decision to dismiss the classified documents case against Trump. Second, though, we should note that Jack Smith's latest filing represents the acknowledgement of the fact that the left's loony Lawfare campaign has backfired spectacularly, strengthening Trump's popularity. So one of the cautionary notes that I would offer to Jack Smith, if he wishes to try to release documents, is to ask him whether or not this will actually continue to strengthen Donald Trump's hand. It's important to keep in mind that we can compare the treatment of with Donald Trump's treatment by Jack Smith with the treatment that Robert Hur offered with respect to President Biden. What happened with respect to President Biden's use of or deployment of or basically putting classified documents in his Corvette? Basically, Robert Hur said, well, the guy is a little incompetent, and so we're not going to proceed. So I think at the end of the day, Jack Smith should be aware of certain cautionary notes that are out there.
Yeah, I think, again, Will, I don't think this needs to be on the top of their concern list at all about President Trump, taking the oath. I think it's a reminder about what Democrats, this is going to be tougher for them to do without any majority, so that in the House or Senate. But we know that they love attempting to use the legal processes to hurt Trump. So far, it's backfired both in a political sense and in a legal sense. This whole idea of this 34 counts on felonies that are basically all about to be thrown out. I mean, the idea is that won't even be a statement you can lawfully make anymore, and it didn't even make it to appeal. A lot of those were I'd say tenuous at best, even in a regular court system. But that's going to have to be the case now. And then I think really the attention needs to go to what is the Biden administration, what moves do they try and make to blunt quick action by President Trump and his team when they take office. We know that this time period they can do things internationally. We have a situation where Turkey has cut off diplomatic relations fully with Israel, not just diplomatic, but all relations, as Erdogan said. So that's business, that's tourism, travel, economic. So where, again, the countries were having issues ambassador to ambassador and having governmental differences, that actually ceases then even the people of those countries doing business together, which is something that has been pretty normal over the years, though has certainly been kind of a back and forth under Erdogan. I mean, the world, you've got Russia, you've got North Korea, you've got the Chinese. They're all going to figure out, and Iran, what can we do in this 67 days we've got before President Trump's in office?
Well, and Jordan, Jack Smith has a history, a very fine pedigree of losing cases on appeal. And so what I think the danger here and why he has to get out of the Florida case is because while Jack Smith has had his cases overturned against Governor McDonald out of Virginia, even he was the one who first led the attempt against Senator Menendez in New Jersey. All of those cases didn't go the way he wanted. Now, if he were to be the one that took the tool out of the left's toolbox of a special counsel by continuing to fight on appeal the lower court saying he's unconstitutional, that could then set off a chain reaction where it gets to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court agrees, yeah, special counsels are unconstitutional and violate the appropriations clause and all of the things that Judge Cannon said.
It'd be kind of wonderful to happen, but
right.
I don't think it's going to happen with this
So that's the danger,
case.
I think, why Jack Smith, no matter what, has to get out. I don't think anyone will read his report that he puts out because the lawfare that they've been trying to do against President Trump for now almost 8 full years, this is the culminating event. This is the crescendo, and it's going to go out of key. It's going to not work. And what you see is that after all that lawfare, President Trump didn't just win the popular vote. He won the majority of the country. A lot of people were saying even if he wins the popular vote, it'll still just be a plurality because of third parties and everything. He's not going to get over 50%. He's still sitting at 50.1% of the vote, and that hasn't changed for days as California continues to put out votes. They're almost done counting there. He may win the majority of the country's vote despite 8 years of lawfare. What's Adam Schiff going to say? Read this report that the special counsel put out. Look at all this bad stuff. It's like nobody cared. No. He was leaking. The FBI was staging photographs at the raid at Mar-a-Lago before Jack Smith was even there. It didn't work. Let it go and get back to focusing on America.
What they'll try to seize on, I don't think it'll be successful either because, again, the American people have heard President Trump, and he's talked about this, and those around him is moves he might make, Harry, for those who have been detained for January 6th, from anyone who's had like actions taken against them from Rudy Giuliani with all these seizures of property to those who have been in prison now for years because of, again, something that, again, was illegal, but usually doesn't come with a 20-year prison sentence.
Well, I think that's correct. And so I think what we have witnessed is overreach, legal overreach by Jack Smith. Secondarily, I would point out that even though Jack Smith's campaign against Donald Trump will likely end with a whimper, it's very, very likely that state actors such as Governor Newsom, Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, Governor Pritzker of Illinois, they will continue their resistance campaign. But I think what they will likely miss is the fact that Donald Trump's agenda, as Will correctly points out, is wildly popular with the American people.